Coming up on this Monday edition of Daybreak, the inter-Korean Gaeseong Industrial Complex may resume operations as early as this week, with the two Korea's new Complex Management Committee set to hold its first meeting today. With a plenary session expected today, lawmakers over the next few days will likely vote on whether to approve an arrest warrant for minor leftist Unified Progressive Party representative Lee Seok-ki, who is accused of scheming to topple the government. Plus, while the UN investigative results are still pending, US Secretary of State John Kerry says Washington's own evidence shows the nerve agent sarin was used in last month's chemical attack in Syria. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Monday, September 2nd, and I'm Choi Yusun here in Seoul. With many in both Koreas hoping for a prompt reopening of the inter-Korean Gaeseong Industrial Complex, officials from the two Koreas will convene their first management committee meeting for the factory zone today at North Korea's border town of Gaeseong. The issue of nailing down the exact date of resumption at the joint industrial park, which came to a halt 5 months ago, will be on the table. While Pyongyang wants businesses to restart as soon as possible, Seoul wants to ensure the two sides take the time to talk about how to make future operation more fruitful. Seoul and Pyongyang agreed to set up the new committee last month to prevent future shutdowns by overseeing the protection of South Korean workers and goods at the complex, investment and management, as well as the park's global competitiveness. North Korea expert Joel Witt says the reclusive state's leader Kim Jong-un is serious about discussing denuclearization with regional powers. In an interview with South Korea's Yonhap news agency, the former U.S. State Department official said there has been a change in Pyongyang's stance on its nuclear issue. He said that while the North previously pushed for economic growth and development of nuclear weapons simultaneously, Kim Jong-un has made creating a peaceful international environment a new priority. Witt emphasized this change in policy was announced on June 16th by Pyongyang's National Defense Commission. As such, Witt says it's important for Washington to open dialogue with Pyongyang, as the communist state is likely willing to discuss the nuclearization of the country. Here in Seoul, insiders say it's highly likely the court's request to arrest Unified Progressive Party lawmaker Lee Seok-ki will be on the agenda at the National Assembly's plenary session this Monday afternoon. Leaders of the ruling and opposition parties reportedly agreed Sunday to handle the approval of an arrest warrant for Lee, who is accused of conspiring to start an armed rebellion if a war breaks out with North Korea. Meanwhile, the National Intelligence Service, which is investigating Lee, has been accused of paying a large amount of money to a member of the UPP in return for obtaining information that will help the investigation process. The NIS denies the allegations, saying they aren't worth responding to. Former South Korean President Roh Tae-woo is expected to pay off the remainder of a massive fine for corruption as early as this week. An official from the prosecutor's office said on Sunday that sources close to Roh say the remaining 23 billion won, or roughly $21 million he still owes, will be paid back on Wednesday or Thursday or by early next week at the latest. Shin Myung-soo, a former in-law of the former president's son, and Roh's younger brother Jae-woo have agreed to pay off the remainder on the former president's behalf. Roh Tae-woo has insisted the two shoulder the bill since he had entrusted his slush funds to the two. This year's inflation rate and commodity prices felt by Koreans was 4 times greater than previous figures announced by the government. Citing a recent survey, the Hyundai Research Institute said Sunday that consumers felt they have experienced a rise in consumer prices by 5.4% so far this year compared to the same period last year. This is roughly 4 times higher than the number presented by Statistics Korea, which was at 1.3%. Researchers attribute the discrepancy in numbers to the rapid price increase in specific categories. Statistics Korea only updates the types and weight put on each category every 5 years, which is considered too long given the swift change in consumer prices. The government has announced a pilot program that it hopes will boost the demand for consumer solar power, as well as relieve the burden on the nation's strained power grid. Our Polly explains how this solar panel leasing system works and how much households can save by becoming early adopters.
This apartment building in Korea is being outfitted with a solar panel, which independently generates household electricity all year round. The central government hopes it's a trend that will catch on with mainstream consumers nationwide. The Energy Ministry recently introduced a new project to promote solar power by allowing households to sidestep the initial high costs and bring a steady stream of revenue to power companies.
A specialized company will provide an all-inclusive installation where users pay a certain rental amount. This is the type of business structure that we are proposing.
According to the ministry, a single consumer solar panel is able to produce 3 kilowatts of electricity, which amounts to an average of 285 kilowatts per hour every month. That's over half the electricity an average household in Korea consumes in a single month. When looking at the economics of the program, it provides considerable savings to your energy bill. Average households in Korea pay about $150 per month for electricity, but using a solar panel slashes that utility fee by up to 82%. Even factoring in the monthly rental costs and maintenance of the solar panel, officials say consumers stand to save up to 30% per month in power fees. The government also plans to provide incentives for companies who participate and invest in the pilot project. Local private firms, however, are taking a cautious stance due to a lack of demand in the Korean solar market. Nationwide sales of solar power-related equipment peaked at just over $1 billion in the first quarter of this year, representing a sharp decline of 42% from 2012. The solar panel rental program is scheduled for a test run later this year, with a national mandate to increase solar power generation by 20% by 2015. Paul Yi, Arirang News. If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world,
return to the negotiation.
President Park Geun-hye planned, given the current circumstances.
on your way to work or at home,
Defense Ministry. The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday
The U.S. government says it has found concrete evidence the Assad regime used sarin nerve gas in the devastating chemical weapons attack that killed over 1,400 people in Syria last month. The latest revelations come as the Obama administration pressures Congress to support the president's case for airstrikes. Our Kim Hyun-bin has the latest.
Describing it as a very important new development, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry took to the airwaves Sunday to say there was proof sarin was used in last month's attack.
We have learned through samples that were provided to the United States and that have now been tested from first responders in East Damascus, and hair samples and blood samples have tested positive for signatures of sarin.
This is the first time the U.S. government has singled out the use of a specific chemical in the attack that killed over 1,400 people. Kerry's comments come after President Obama said he would seek congressional approval for airstrikes against Syria, a move that will hold up a strike for at least 9 days.
And I don't believe that my former colleagues in the United States Senate and the House will turn their backs on all of our interests, on the credibility of our country, on the norms with respect to the enforcement of the prohibition against the use of chemical weapons, which has been in place since 1925.
Backing from Congress won't be easy, with many Democrats and Republicans wary of war and uneasy about intervening in the Syrian conflict. Speaking to NBC Sunday, Republican Senator Rand Paul said he didn't see American interests on either side of the Syrian war, adding that the Senate might back Obama, but the vote was far from a slam dunk case in the House. Kerry did not mention if Obama would go ahead with the strike without Congress backing, but did say the president had the right to attack without his support. The House and the Senate are expected to vote on the week of September 9th. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Memorial events were held Sunday for Korean victims who lost their lives in a nationwide massacre in Japan 90 years ago. Around 200 people, including Korean residents and the local Japanese people, participated in the events, which took place in several regions of Japan. Hironori Yoshida, chair of the event's executive committee, said the purpose of the memorial was to reflect on Japan's past behaviors and on wars of hate at the time, which led to the mass targeting of a specific group of people. The massacre of thousands of Koreans residing in Japan, dubbed the Kanto Massacre, broke out when residing Koreans were blamed for the deaths of the Japanese people after a severe earthquake occurred on September 1st, 1923. The month-long Istanbul Gyeongju World Culture Expo, which kicked off over the weekend in Istanbul, is shedding light on the ancient Silk Road, a cross-continental trade route that linked the Far East and the West for thousands of years. A cultural correspondent Park Ji-won tells us more.
Just in time for the Istanbul Gyeongju World Culture Expo, Korea's North Gyeongsang Province, the co-organizer of the event, dispatched 2 expedition teams to travel the ancient Silk Road. The team spent some 50 days on the road, covering about 17,000 kilometers from Korea's southeastern city of Gyeongju to Turkey's largest city, Istanbul. The first team traveled some 4,000 kilometers late March to early April from Gyeongju to the Chinese city of Xi'an, which is commonly known as the starting point of the Silk Route. The second group traveled another 14,000 kilometers by car mid-July to late August from China, Xi'an to Turkey's Istanbul, crossing through 7 countries, many of them being in Central Asia. Members from the team traced the footsteps of the Korean ancestors during their journey. Former culture minister and Korean history professor Choi Kwang-sik says Gyeongju was definitely a part of the ancient Silk Road. He says many burial items excavated from the tombs of Gyeongju, the ancient capital of Silla dynasty that existed from the 1st century BC to the 10th century, show that active trade was already being carried out on the Korean peninsula.
The Silk Road dates back to the 1st century BC, through which Chinese silks and many other items like papers and spices were traded between the East and the West. While the Silk Road basically refers to the ancient Chinese city of Xi'an and Rome of the Roman Empire, it stretches beyond Xi'an to other Far East cities such as Beijing, Gyeongju, or the Japanese city of Nara. Similarly, it also extends beyond Rome to Paris and Madrid.
Organizers of the World Culture Expo hope this special event in the Eurasian country will bring about another influx of exchange between Korea and Europe and act as the hub of the 21st century Silk Road. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
While the Istanbul Gyeongju Expo provides an opportunity to promote cultural ties between Korea and Turkey, how far has the economic relationship been between the two nations come amid where is it headed? Our Hwang Jie has the details.
Korea and Turkey may not be major trading partners with each other, but the economic ties of the two countries still seem to hold meaning. The trade volume between the two nations rose after the global financial crisis in 2009, reaching over $5.2 billion last year. Korea's major export products to Turkey include automobiles, ships, and steel products, while petroleum products and auto parts are some of the major imports from Turkey. And to further boost the economic relationship, a bilateral free trade pact between Korea and Turkey went into effect last May that deals with products. Experts say the trade deal is especially meaningful for a country like Korea, as it relies heavily on exports and has to continuously tap into new markets.
Turkey has a good geopolitical location connecting Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. It also has a strong labor force, with half of them younger than 30. This also means Turkey has the potential to be an active domestic market.
Fully aware of the potential the Turkish market possesses, Korean companies like Hyundai Motor and POSCO, a steelmaking company, are actively investing in the nation. Korea's total investments in Turkey stood at around $1.2 billion last year, so it's no wonder the two nations are now in talks for a free trade deal in the service and investment sectors.
Once the FTA talks for service and investment sectors wrap up, Korea will be the first nation to have such an inclusive trade deal with Turkey that's expected to deepen economic ties between the two countries. 황지혜, Arirang News.
And a good Monday morning to you all, and especially for the 7 K-League Classic teams that actually made the cut after yesterday, as the season will now move on to its split format. Of course, the top 7 teams will be facing off with each other in hopes to win the league title, as Pohang, Ulsan, Jeonbuk, Seoul, Suwon, and Incheon made the top 6 cut after last night. But question is, who got the last and final spot? Well, let's check out the Pohang Steelers taking on the Busan I-Park. Of course, going into the game here, rather quiet first half to start things off. But in the 43rd minute of the match, Busan's Han Ji-ho finds the back of the net as Busan takes a 1-0 first half lead. Now, Busan trying to hold on to that 1-goal lead here, but in the 85th minute, Kim Eun-jung, the equalizer, as the match is now tied 1-1. Busan needing a win in this one to survive the split format, and what do you know, a victory they get. 90-plus minute, Park Young-ho to the rescue. The game winner as Busan sneaks past the league leaders 2-1, as Busan barely gets into the top 7 spot. And of course, with that said, staying in football, but over in Germany, where another Korean talent has signed a deal to play in Germany's Bundesliga. Now, Hong Jung-ho, the 24-year-old defender out of Jeju United in the K-League Classic, has signed a 4-year deal with Augsburg FC, adding to a list of Koreans who now play over in Germany. Now, Hong Jung-ho becomes the 3rd Korean to play for the team since Koo Ja-chul in the 2011-2012 season, and Ji Dong-won, who joined the team on loan in 2012. Now, the contract is until June of 2017, as the Korean defender chose number 20 as his jersey number. And speaking of overseas Korean talents, Ki Sung-young has actually expressed his desire to leave Swansea City after seeing most of his time on the bench, and it looks like he got his wish as the 24-year-old midfielder joined Sunderland on a year-long loan deal. Now, he will be playing alongside Chi Dong-won, who's actually been seeing more playing time this season with Sunderland. All right, so with that said, let's move on to some Sunday night KBO action. Of course, things really heating up right now in the pennant race, as the Nexen Heroes beat the Hanwha Eagles 7-3 to avoid an embarrassing sweep there, with the NC Dinos absolutely crushing the Kia Tigers 12-3, with the NC Dinos hitting 3 home runs in the game as well. So with that said, let's take a look at the other 2 games that took place, starting off with the first place Samsung Lions taking on the 3rd place Tusan Bears. Of course, shifting over to the game here, we go over to the first inning here. Lee Jong-wook grounds 1 to short, but an E6 here gets Lee Jong-wook on base. Now, next batter here, Min Byung-hun also grounds 1 to short, but what do you know? Another error by Kim Sang-soo leaves the Tusan Bears with men on 2nd and 3rd with no one out. Next batter here is Kim Hyun-soo sending 1 to center field. Sac fly scores Lee Jong-wook for the first run of the game before the big guy Choi Jun-suk grounds out to 2nd here. This brings home another run as the Tusan Bears taking advantage of the 2 errors. Go over to the second inning of the game. Kim Jae-ho this time an RBI single to left field makes it 3-0 Tucson Bears. Shifting over to the fourth inning, Hong Sung-eun to start the inning here. First pitch he sees, back, and it is out of here. 4-0 Tucson Bears. Meanwhile, Tucson starter Yoo Hee-kwan superb on the night, tossing 7 1/3 inning, no runs on just 5 hits, as the Tucson Bears take this game 4-0. And of course, next up, the LG Twins taking on the Lotte Giants. Third inning, Chun Ju-nu, a 2-run single up the middle brings home Son Ha-sup and Moon Kyu-hyun as the Lotte Giants draw first blood 2-0. Next inning, here's Chung Sung-hoon deep to left field, back. This one is out of here. A solo shot as the LG Twins now trail 2-1. Seventh inning here, Yoon Yo-sup an RBI double to deep center field. And what do you know? We have a tie ball game. Eighth inning, here's Chung Sung-hoon once again. He's going to get an infield single to second, scoring Chung Ju-hyun as the LG Twins take a 3-2 lead. Close game all around, but Bong Joon-gun comes into the game for the save as the LG Twins come back to take this game 3-2. Your final score. And now finishing things off with UFC 164, which took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where Benson Henderson lost his lightweight title to Anthony Pettis after a first-round submission. Now, more bad news for all the Korean UFC fans out there as Mr. Perfect Kang Kyung-ho lost again via decisions, this time to Chico Camus after 3 rounds. But the good news is the ace Im Hyung-gyu, the other Korean that fought, taking on Pascal Cross, won by technical knockout in the first round after a brutal knee kick. His second straight UFC victory and the second straight victory thanks to his signature knee kick. So congratulations to him. And with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Happy Monday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather forecast. Well, wasn't weather just perfect for an outing over the weekend? Well, I know it was a bit hot in peak sun hours, but the sky was high and clear. It was so great. And it looks like another glorious weather is ahead of us today with tons of sunshine, with afternoon temperature hovering upper 20s in most regions. But you know, even in the afternoon hours, as long as we're under the shade, I think it's bearable with less humidity and gentle breeze blowing through. And by the way, the humidity level will be 65% on average for this morning. Now today we'll continue to be under the influence of high pressure system from China, and high pressure system usually brings fair weather and light winds, so it's gonna be a sunny day with blue skies. And right now it's looking clear. We are looking at absolutely nothing on our satellite map, so we are waking up to sunny skies. Well, it's breezy and chilly in the morning hours, but temperature will rise fast with sun popping up. Well, most of the days this week we expect to start out with cool morning lows, but warm temperature with gorgeous skies will take over, and temperature will be in the high 20s all week long. Now the coolest day of this week will be Friday, when nationwide rain will move daytime highs downward a bit. With that, it's time to take a look at today's readings. Well, morning lows are all below 20 degrees Celsius. It's quite chilly right now. But daytime highs in Seoul and Busan will rise to 28 degrees Celsius, that's 82 degrees in Fahrenheit, and highs in Daegu, Gwangju will be 30 and 29 with plenty of sunshine. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like all these 4 regions, Jeju, Daejeon, Dokdo, and Mount Kumgang, will all enjoy soaking up under the nice sun, with afternoon highs hovering upper 20s. Well, you know, temperature difference between day and night is pretty wild, so make sure to carry around a small jacket or cardigan to keep you warm. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for our viewers around the world. That's all I have for you at this hour. Enjoy your morning commute and have a wonderful Monday.
And those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Thank you for being with us.